Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining this fantastic event. Welcome you all for our webinar second series. For your information, this entire session will be recorded. At the same time, it will be shared with everyone who participated today's call. With your permission, let me record this call. So a small housekeeping. So our colleagues will be share you the feedback form in the first comment. At the same time, all the viewers can raise your hand if you have any question. Post session, you will be get answered. At the same time, you will get the opportunity to talk to a resource person and our moderator directly whenever you raise your hand and want to talk to us. You can ask any questions meanwhile the presentation happening through the chat box or even in the Q&A boxes on the bottom. So without further ado, let's start the session. Let's start with a small webinar trailer for this particular session. Today's session, it's mainly focusing on AI enabling on physiotherapy environment. We have fantastic resource person, Mr. Siva Nadarajah. So before inviting Mr. Siva, greetings everyone. I'm Miller Rajendran, CWO of SenzMate AI IoT Intelligence. On behalf of SenzMate, it's my pleasure to welcome you all for our second webinar in the series, Bridging the Innovation and Compassionate Care on Physiotherapy. So this session will be feature an insightful fireside discussion with Mr. Siva Nadarajah, President, Co-Founder of JOGO Health. Like you all, I'm also very much excited to hear insights from Mr. Nadarajah today. Without further ado, let me introduce our today's session's moderator, Mr. Ruban Kanapathippillai. Mr. Ruban is a veteran on technology, and Ruban Kanapathippillai is a tech and business leader with a rich experience over 30 years in various digital domains such as telco, storage, and AI and ML. He has worked in both large corporations and startup environment, demonstrating his versatile and adaptability. He has co-founded and led several successful startups, generating total an exit value of more than $1.3 billion. Ruben's story is a sourceful motivation to budding entrepreneurs like us. He has learned from his experience, developing his skills and experience over a long period of fruitful career. He have more than 30 US patents, providing his innovation and excellence in the tech industry. It's also passionate writer under the title of The Accidental Entrepreneur by Mr. Ruben. It is our greatest honor and our pleasure to invite Mr. Ruban Kanapathippillai to take the conversation forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Miller. Welcome, everyone. Today's discussion goes into exciting and advancement in healthcare technology, especially in the physiotherapy. We explore how these advancements, including rise of artificial intelligence, will shape future of healthcare delivery. To guide today's discussion, we have my friend and health tech visionary, Mr. Siva Nadarajah, President and Co-Founder of JOGO Health, joining us. Siva brings 23 years of invaluable experience in the medical and pharmaceutical industry, spanning clinical, safety, and taking those solutions to the market from a business point of view. It is always a pleasure to discuss the intersection of healthcare and technology with Siva, who has vast amount of experience, as well as he has been in the field and expecting and experiencing how this works. Siva's impressive background includes his previous venture, Cementally, an AI-powered platform for drug safety detection and healthcare social media analysis. This venture was acquired by IQVIA, a global leader in clinical research, where Siva served as general manager for many years. He further demonstrated his innovative spirit with 2 US patents to his name. Before talking to Siva, let's explore what JOGO is doing in this space.
I'm Dr. Kresolowski, a physical therapist and chief scientific officer for JOGO Health. We are a prescription digital therapeutics company cleared by the FDA to treat all neuromuscular conditions. JOGO is a wireless portable EMG system which can reverse loss of function and improve quality of life. We do this by tapping into the natural neuroplasticity of the central nervous system. Think of neuroplasticity as using a GPS for traveling. If there is a traffic jam, you will be redirected to reach your goal. The same occurs in the brain, where alternate neuronal pathways are created to gain control over affected muscles. The JOGO signal provides immediate information about your muscle activity and displays it on the tablet screen. This gives you and your JOGO therapist accurate information on muscle activity and enables you to learn how to alter muscle activity through auditory and visual cues. The JOGO system works by placing two disposable surface sensors over a muscle and displaying the muscle activity on the tablet. This is non-invasive like an EKG. We are picking up the activity of your muscle. Nothing goes into your body. The JOGO app utilizes the signal and displays the information via a graph or a game. By controlling the game or graph, the patient learns how to control their muscle. With treatment and practice, the patient can internalize this control, resulting in improved function. JOGO Health, simple and effective.
Thanks, Ruben. Thanks for the intro. So JOGO basically came out of the original JOGO. The product came out of two researchers. One was a neurologist and a physical medicine and rehabilitation doctor named Joseph Brudney at NYU. Then the engineering mind behind JOGO was a researcher and a textbook author of cognitive neuroscience. His name is Dr. Gordon Silverman, right? So he's the engineering mind behind it, and the medical brain behind it, Dr. Joseph Brudney. So both
that's where YOGO, yeah? That is where the YOGO came from.
Originally, our company was called Neural Therapeutics. We really renamed the company to credit them because this is their work that we are that we have enhanced. So they both worked with IBM back in the 80s to build this machine. Basically, when you talk to Gordon, and to Gordon is the one that I always talk to because Dr. Brudney had passed, he said, AI is about humans teaching machines, right? AI is about humans teaching machines. What they built in the 1980s is a machine to teach humans about our own capacity, right? Think about, it started out with, let's say someone had a stroke, right? Someone had a stroke, you got a blood clot in the brain, and that part of the brain now, which controls your arms and your legs is not functioning. The stroke is in the brain, and because of that, you lost the ability to walk and hold up to things, and you had a paralysis. So the paralysis is actually in the brain. You can actually teach the brain, right, through a machine to use the healthier part of the brain to rewire and take over the function that's lost due to the stroke. Because your brain is plastic. Your brain has, it's called neuroplasticity. Your brain can be rewired. And to do that, how do you do that? You need to have a machine teach the human, because a person cannot tell you what to do. So the machine had sensors on, so they put the sensors on the body, and they moved, and basically what the brain was supposed to do, they taught the brain through the system. And of course, even those days they used machine learning, which they would have called it big AI those days in 1990. I mean, machine learning is not a new concept. It was 1960s. So they created this machine with the help of IBM to basically help this patient. You tap into the neuroplasticity of your central nervous system to rewire your brain to get control back, right? So machine teaching a human versus human teaching a machine, right? The opposite of AI, right, is what they really built. But as clinicians and researchers, they built a fantastic product It went through, FTA and all these things, but it never became a reality, right? Because they were not businessmen, right? So they were not able to take the product. So the thing went into what is normally happens in medical field is went into the research area, right? mRNA, which we all used the vaccines during the COVID, was invented in the 1960s. It was always in the research. Nobody found a way to make a product out of it to solve a real business problem until COVID hit, right? So this was in that area where if you go do literature search, there are so much of studies done, so many people have done their PhDs on this, but nobody created a product out of it, right? So what JOGO basically is, when I joined the company as an investor originally, I saw the potential, because this is not a new science. This science is out there for many, many, many years. And it's been researched. So many people have PhDs, but nobody had created a product. So my job was to take this and create a product that can be consumable, which already Sanjay has done, my co-founder. My job is to market it. And basically, I know that's my background. Not market. Healthcare marketing is not easy. You need to do a lot of things. You need to get through FDA and reimbursement of insurance companies. And there are a lot going on here, right? So that's basically JOGO. So JOGO is a virtual solution, right? And we'll come to the physical therapy part of it, which SenzMate helps us build, which is fantastic. I'll explain the first part of JOGO, then we'll come to this physical therapy part of it. So JOGO is a virtual solution where someone gets the device shipped home, and you can provide these treatments for various indications: stroke recovery, people to recover from chronic lower back pain, people to recover from migraine, people to recover from incontinence, urinary incontinence, chronic constipation. There are various conditions that this is indicated for. Science supports it, and FDA also clears it. So that's basically how you do this, through virtually using the sensors and software, using this established science, right? So that's essentially JOGO. And do you want me to talk about what?
So I will get to the next one. Yeah. So I think I'm a happy investor in your company, as well as I'm seeing the progress over the last 4 or 5 years. And you guys made tremendous progress, and taking the technology, what you have done with the JOGO as a foundational technology, and you have, as you said, you have applied into many different illnesses, as well as use that one to do digital therapeutics. That is another big one I think you have done. So I think the second part of that interesting part is, we talk about technology in the medical field. There has been always some kind of skepticism about handing over the health diagnosis as well as the treatment to machine or technology, and it is sitting back. But lately, the skepticism has gone down since the COVID and the remote delivery of medication and all that part. How do you see AI, IoT, AR, VR, and various technology transform the healthcare sector? Can you tell what are you seeing there?
Yeah, there are certain things in healthcare that actually cannot be done by humans. By humans. What we are doing with JOGO, there is no way that a human can explain to somebody that your muscle activity is 10% of what you used. It's like telling somebody, you don't need a thermometer, right? You still need a thermometer to tell what's the temperature. That's a technology that we've been using it. And stethoscope is the other one, right? And before stethoscope, people used their hands. So it's always going to be augmenting, Ruben, right? The technology and AI is always going to be augmenting. I don't think we are still there yet to remove the human from the equation, right? For anybody telling you this human can cure this, the machine can do the entire thing, you just walk away. I don't think we're there yet. I think we'll get there for certain things in the future, but there will always be this human component. So technology and AI, very specifically, is an augmentation enabler. It's a co-pilot, right? It's a co-pilot for you, very much like how we are using co-pilot these days, right? So that's how I look at it. And we are just in this rehab work, right? So we are in making people get better through our technology. But you have UC/AI in many areas in healthcare, right? Drug discovery. Even my previous company was an AI company which used AI to find drug side effects. So think about. I'll tell you what my last company did. You will appreciate what AI could do. There was a previous. We were supposed to have a pandemic in 2004. Prior to this, that's what the bird
Is it
flu.
a SARS?
Yeah, the bird flu. So during bird flu, I mean, we had a very good monitoring system around the world, which went away during this pandemic. But last time they were able to control it locally, right? Before it came to US. Canada was impacted a little bit, but mostly it was localized to China. But that time people had still same kind of issues, and there was a medication that was given to them, and they had some side effects taking the drugs. Right? And that side effects were only found out back in 2008, after 4 years of the pandemic, right? By then, the drug was taken by millions and millions of people, right? Millions and millions of people. Now you go and say, hey, I need to find, someone found out there are side effects. Now you tell the people, now you look at every single person who had taken this drug and analyze every single EHR record that they to find out what happened to these people, and listen to call centers and listen to social media to find out what happened. No way you could do that with human beings, right? So, that we used AI at that time and to scour through this large amount of data to find those nuggets of patients. So that's where AI is, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so I could see that. I mean, I think rather than saying it is going to replace or do everything else, it is going to augment as well as going to give more insight by looking at the big data and analytical part of it, and go as an assistant to the doctor. Yeah, I mean, that is the one I see happening. Yeah. I mean, for example, I go to my cardiologist and there is a person sitting there, and I was asking, why is that person? So they take the notes and they analyze the data and say, because I may be telling 10 different things happening, and the doctor may only heard 5 of them. So that the note taker may eventually analyze it and say, oh, these 5 things this person talked about it, you didn't analyze it, and give some information to the doctor saying, before closing it, just make sure these are not critical issues you had to consider, some of these.
Yeah. And a lot of companies now having Copilot for doctors to help them write notes, not only for history, but also for billing purposes in the US, you need to have notes of some place.
Yeah. So the next one, I mean, I think it is amazing how the technology is changing. And then, because I partnered with SenzMate to look at this one, and then, I introduced you guys together. And so you have been working as a happy customer with SenzMate over last 3 years, maybe, or maybe a little longer. And so why did you choose SenzMate as your AI partner for MedTech? And how was your team's experience of working with them and their knowledge and what they bring to the table versus how do they collaborate? Can you expand on that?
Yeah, I'll tell you what the business problem we originally had, and then we'll go to why we chose. So, we are, all the conditions that we treat are done by physical therapists or clinical psychologists, right, using JOGO. Right? We are in rehab. That's where we are making people a post-op or post-stroke or incontinence, even migraine. We don't call it rehab, but it kind of falls under that. But physical therapy is always something that goes hand in hand with what we do, right? Even with stroke patients, after someone recovers, they need regular physical therapy to come back to do this so that they could, it is an integral part of medicine, physical therapy, right? Which we all don't take it seriously, but it's important. Even with our low back pain program that we have, when once people finish using JOGO, then they need strengthening of the muscles and other things, and they need physical therapy, right? So one of the challenges we had to have these patients now after JOGO treatment, or even during the JOGO treatment, if they need physical therapy, they have now go to a physical therapy clinic, and they have to travel to get the physical therapy. So the other companies also started doing what we were doing in terms of physical therapy, to use the vision on a camera vision to track body movements so that they can do the physical therapy at home, so they don't have to travel. So that was the business problem that we came up with. We needed to build what is called digital MSK. That's the name for this right now, digital musculoskeletal. There's a name for it right now. So that definitely we need AI, because you need to have camera tracking your movements and then guiding the patient whether they're doing the exercises correctly, right? Because they don't want to use the wrong exercises, and without a physical therapist in front of you, then you may be doing those exercises wrong. So we needed this whole technology that required Vision AI, and I think a video or something that was posted by SenzMate that they have done some movement traction for yoga, right? For yoga.
Yes.
So it's the same principle. You track the movements of body parts and compare that against baseline. There's a lot going on there, because patients may be keeping the camera this way, you can't tell the patients to keep the camera straight. So there's a lot going on that requires very much work, and also machine learning to compare the movements. So I was looking through a couple of vendors who were doing it. Then came across, of course, SenzMate. Then we talked to them. I think we had a call. Then I asked them, I just gave them a very simple, a program, just a pilot to build something. Then they built it, right? The Vision AI was something that I already had experience with. So I knew how difficult it is to do, but also how to do it. Because in my previous work at Semantally, we built a Vision AI to track the NFL players' movements. To see if they're having they may have concussions later on. So depending on how they move and how they slow down and things like that. So the tech was always there, but you needed some special skills to use the APIs and libraries to. So then I felt very comfortable, and they were very accommodative, detailed. So we chose them, and that's how I came about using.
I think it experience have been mutual, because I've been talking to the team, and there are because they're remote team, and you have to collaborate together, and you had to make it to the get first into the prototype and get to the customers, and then get their happiness, and then you had to deploy it. There are multiple stages of it. I have seen both team collaborating very easily.
It required rapid prototyping. That's one of the important things that required. Because my thought was something. Then you will go to a physical therapy clinic and give it to them. Then they will be like, "Hey, I need that. I need this, and I can't use this without this." The last thing any other industry can be changed easily, not healthcare, right? You give something to the healthcare, because it's so difficult to change for various reasons. There's not these people are really bad people. They're good people, physicians and physical therapists, but they go through a lot, right? You go to a hospital, you could see that there's so much going on. The last thing they want is use a tool to disrupt their daily workflow, right? So kind of we had to do a lot of iteration.
No, thank you. I think it is what I think I have seen that one with not just the medtech, because I've been working with other industry, retail market and different thing. One of the things SenzMate has been able to do is quickly prototype days and weeks, not months and years, and to get something that was thanks for validating that one. Let's talk about the healthcare. There are regulation and compliance. That is one of the biggest challenge and biggest barrier one side. It is in a right way, because you don't want your healthcare data to go out and it doesn't have the compliance and the safety part of it. So what do healthcare stakeholders such as hospitals, care home, and health tech companies need to consider when exploring or initializing integration into technology or digitalization? What are the areas to consider in that area from your point of view?
Yeah, there are two areas, two distinct, I'll separate this into two different questions. One is, are you looking at this solution as a therapeutic intervention, like what we are doing, right? We are doing a therapeutic intervention, right? We're basically getting into the care of making patients better. In our case, for example, let's take a health system, right? If they want to bring in a JOGO type of solution. This is remote physical therapy, the one that SenzMate built for us. Patients come to the hospital, and they, especially in rural areas, when they go home, now they don't have access to a physical therapist. They could use the JOGO app built by SenzMate at home with physical therapist remotely helping them. So that is one. That's intervention, right? We are actually intervening. Yeah. In that, the most important question that they should look at is this product have gone through clinical review, FDA, and all these things are important, right? Because you can't just put something in without proving that it's safe. So that's the intervention side of things, where we work very closely with FDA. It's very, very important, right? There are solutions out there that the people put in the hands of hospitals haven't been reviewed by clinicians. This is not good, right? That's one. The second piece is you're trying to build other systems for health systems, right? There are so many problems within health systems. In the US, very specifically, has so many issues, right? I mean, you probably already know.
One of them is interoperability between multiple systems and so much investment.
I can go and I can talk about it. I can go to a corner and cry, right? There are so many other things in the US. So workflow issues. Most of them are workflow related, data related, because of the regulations, right? And the regulations change state by state. Not every state has the same regulations. Every state in the US operates like a separate country. In that case, they have to understand the regulatory landscape, right, of various things. One, of course, FDA is one. The second is Medicare, who is the payer. FDA is the regulator of basic things, but Medicare is the most important, which you want to pay. A simple thing like if you're not tracking your sessions and not storing them, and when a Medicare audit comes and says, "Oh, you said that you treated 10 patients. Who are these patients? What did you do?" If you don't have the data, then you're done. then you have a bill. What they basically tell you, okay, you billed us $100,000, give us back the money. You didn't really treat the patients. They actually ask the money back, right? From the hospitals. There are thousands of hospitals who pay back the money because they don't have the data or properly capture the data, right? So that is something that they have to be very careful about in archiving, all these other things, right? That is one issue. I will not say issue. The second biggest thing, Ruben, is cybersecurity, right? Cybersecurity is critical. You probably know what is exactly going on right now in the US. Change Healthcare is one of the largest companies in the US as part of the United Health insurance system was hacked over the weekend, right? And it was hacked by, we don't know. And every single doctor, pretty much the entire healthcare system in the US are not getting paid. Because the payment comes from the insurance companies, right? They hack the payment gateways, right? And by hacking through the okay? So think about a doctor who's running a clinic. His monthly expenses are, he has to pay the salary of this front desk. They have to pay the salary, they pay rent, all this money dependent on that payment coming from this insurance company, right? And it's not like these guys have a ton of money sitting in the bank, right? These are like very operationally thin businesses, especially these small clinics. And it just hacked, and they ended up paying $21 million for the first phase for the hackers through crypto, and we found out. But these doctors are like, give me some money because I want to pay my con. So you can see the cybersecurity just very, very, very good, right? They hack the health systems like anything, and unfortunately, health systems don't have problems. So anything you're building, if it has a cloud component, even if it doesn't have a cloud component, they can hack through the systems. Cybersecurity is absolutely a critical piece when it comes to. So that's why health systems take long to implement new applications. So think about regulations. That's number one. But I would just flip it and say, make sure it's secure. Because we can deal with it years later, but if someone hacks and takes the data, the major important thing, I'll tell you why that's an issue, right? If they steal the data from a hospital, right? Let's say simply say that 1,000 patients. These 1,000 patients, HIPAA, their privacy is under an issue, right? Because now I may have a disease I don't want anybody to know, right? And you're going to tell me that as a hacker, and I'm going to publish that this particular guy's disease online. And I'm going to sue this hospital like few million, not millions, maybe probably billions of dollars for, not saving my data, right? So the impact could be huge. That's why these guys are paying this ransom to this cybersecurity. So cybersecurity is number 2. Then there are other things like process. And the important other thing I will say, I don't know if I'm taking too long, but the third important piece is the workflow, right? Clinicians don't have time. Right? Doctors, physical, anybody, right? They're running from one patient to the other. Make sure it's smooth and there's no glitches, and that's the other thing. So those are 3 things.
No, I think you covered exactly the challenges, and I say it opportunities. Being coming from Silicon Valley, all of these increases opportunities for us to
opportunity. Yeah, absolutely.
Innovate. So as the last question I have is, when you talked about how you interacted with SenzMate as well as build MVP, and then build the platform with cloud and all those to make sure it can be deployed. And when healthcare organization thinking about going digital or going to start using this kind of technology, what will be your suggestion? Where can they start? I mean, how do they start? I mean, and maybe already people are thinking about it, but what is your, because we have a lot of CIOs from the healthcare will be watching this one. What will be your suggestion for them to say where they can start?
Yeah, the most important thing CIOs also have to think through, because I've seen it on both sides, Ruben. Talk to the end customers internally, right? Because CIOs are not treating patients, right? We all have grand ideas, but we are techies, right? You go talk to the person. That I'm talking about, not just physicians. I'm talking about the nurses, and understand that whether they really want this. I'll tell you, I was at a Christmas party last, of course, during Christmas we have a holiday, and then a bunch of my friends are all physicians, right? So we got together. One guy, after 2 wines, he went on a rant, right? So he said, I don't know, man. Every day I get a alert from my hospital that, hey, there's a new feature there. Use this. That's like, you need to use this. They never asked me whether I needed it. Something they want me to track, and I said, anytime they tell me to do something without talking to me, I'm purposefully turning it off, right? I don't even want to know what it is, right? But they never ask me whether I need this, right? It's tough because there are so many things that have been pushed down, right, to the physicians. So I think there are lot of opportunities, as you know, right? Lot of opportunities that are out there. But whether the end user, is it going to disrupt the workflow of the person, right? Is it going to take more time? Already these guys are crunched for time, right? They're seeing patients very quickly, and it should not interfere with their workflow. It should add, it should bring efficiency. One of the fantastic things that I've seen lately, and it's Microsoft did it and multiple companies have done it, like listening to conversations, as you just said, and writing notes for the doctors that are compliant, not just regular notes, compliant notes that is automatically go to insurance companies, so these guys don't have to do anything, right? They love it.
Yeah, that is very, very, because we need to, because there are less number of doctors, there are more diseases, there are more, need to see people. So this will reduce the burden on the doctors. That will be amazing.
Yeah. And the other thing, diabetes alone, just take diabetes alone, right? Every day, 600 new publications are written in diabetes. 600 new every day, right? And if a doctor asks to read the whole thing, you'll be 700 years old, right? You don't have time to read them. So, summarize it, give the nuggets to them, things that they want. So those are some of the things I'm thinking. My point is, involve even the nurses, even the front desk before you do anything. But there are so much we could do in healthcare, digital transformation, to make it efficient. Because especially in the United States, right, we spend $4 trillion for healthcare, and US ranked about 30 or 40 in the world for healthcare. We ranked really poor. but we spend almost the GDP of Germany on healthcare.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, thank you, Siva, for all your experience, knowledge, and all the information you have shared with us. It has been a wonderful conversation. I believe it serves the purpose of the session because we wanted to get into the detail, but I think you gave more than what we asked for, because it covers the breadth of all that development, what is going on, as well as what is the future is going to look like. And we want to congratulate you and Sanjay on the success of JOGO to now, to date, as well as going forward. I think the technology you guys are developing, it is going to help so many people, cure their diseases or live better life. I mean, that is the only thing we can ask for.
End of the day, Ruben, anything that you're building in healthcare is meaningful. You wake up in the morning and you see a patient telling us, sending a note and say, hey, I wrote my name for the first time after 6 months, right? Because I lost the ability to write after I had a stroke. And this just, oh my God, this is worth it. All the effort I put in. So you wake up happy that you solved and you cured somebody's disease. It's the greatest feeling in the world. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I feel it, because that's why, because as an angel investment, my majority of my investment goes into the medical field because I am a diabetic patient. So there are 3D printing pancreas and various aspects of it. There are heart disease people I know. So all of these things, I am hoping it will slowly but steadily improve the big thing. Thank you, Siva, for your time and all your knowledge and wisdom. And we are now going to open the floor for your questions to Siva, myself, and then we have SenzMate team also available for you. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity, Ruben, and thank you, SenzMate. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. The floor is open for questions, and I have a hand raise from Mr. Nimal Vallipuram. So you can communicate with the resource person, Siva and Mr. Ruben. Thank you.
Hi, Ruben. Hi, Siva. Hi, Mira. Thank you for your time. I have a question for you, Siva. You said to one of the questions by Ruben about the difficulties of getting the compliance and the approval from different authorities for the products and even for the software. This has been one of the biggest issues in any kind of healthcare investment in this country because the government has clearly put massive burden on investors and new companies that they have to pass through these hoops before the product being available to hospitals or consumers. For the right reason, of course, for the right reason. So as a smaller company, what is your strategy or what are you thinking in terms of systematically how to get this done? Qualify, go through this and pass it. At the same time, not spend too much of it doesn't become a resource-hungry endeavor. I mean, I know it's part of your business model, but have you thought about it and what are you doing about it? I'm not necessarily asking for a real answer, but I just want to know what you're thinking.
Yeah, before Siva answers this question, I want to tell, I monitor Siva's activities on that. So I know he's going to answer very rightfully because he is not just building his company, he's building this industry by being in Congress and doing a lot of, canvassing. So please go, Siva, go through a little more detail.
Yeah. So there are two things, Nimal, in this whole thing. One is regulatory approval, right? The second is payment. Right? The payment, healthcare is the only industry, at least in the Western world, where the customer doesn't pay. So there are two burdens for a startup like us. One, the first phase is how do you go through the regulatory approval, which is the major one, FDA in the US or Health Canada in Canada. Then how do you make these guys to pay for it, right? Pay for it. So as a medical startup who is building something to intervene as an intervention, you need to plan that in your business plan. And that's a message you need to tell the investors very, very importantly, right? You are investing in a company which has a big risk of FDA saying no to it, right? So early on, right? I mean, luckily on JOGO's perspective, we have passed it. We have been cleared by the FDA and we are also getting reimbursed. So I actually brought in my external investors after FDA cleared, right? So the investors didn't have the burden, especially the ones who came in late. But when I invested in the company, I became an investor originally in JOGO. JOGO wasn't cleared by FDA. So, but I knew that we could get it cleared. So that was a huge risk I took as an investor. But, kudos to also someone like Sanjay, who worked on it for almost 7 years before I joined, my co-founder, without even knowing whether this will get approved by FDA. So the grit and determination of a healthcare in the entrepreneur is 100 folds bigger than any other industry, because in any other industry, you can get, you don't have this burden of compliance and regulatory approval, whereas in healthcare it is, right? So, I mean, it takes a lot of grit and a lot of perseverance to get this done. So yeah, anybody who's getting into healthcare and wanted to intervene something like an intervention, you have to be prepared for that, and you have to prepare not only yourself, also the investors, right? There's no way out. You cannot. I mean, there are some companies who just bypass FDA and they're trying to, dance around this, but it never. They get caught. Then the second big piece, I think that's what Ruben was asking me. We had to do a lot of lobbying, right? It's also involves a lot of lobbying because this is completely new. Especially FDA was easy. FDA understood this. FDA got us cleared. We didn't have any problem with the FDA. You go to Medicare in the US, I'm not sure where you're from with Nimal, from the US or Canada?
US.
You're from US, okay. So Nimal, FDA is one piece of it. The second piece is Medicare. And once Medicare covers is when commercial insurance companies would pay for it, right? So for Medicare, it's a whole different animal. It's a completely different department within the government, right? CMS. You need to go explain to them this software and AI can treat a stroke, for our example, right? But who is CMS? What's the government? It's the lawmakers, right? You go to talk to an 80-year-old who has never seen a computer. Sometimes he has an old phone with a flip phone, and you talk to them and you say, what do you mean this can treat stroke? Explain to me. Then then you go sit with them and talk to them. We were lobbying, the government. We were going and talking to them, and we had to get a bill passed. It hasn't passed yet, but at least it will introduce the floor. A lot more has to be done. That's what I'm saying. A healthcare entrepreneur has to do so many things. But we were one of the few companies who has been cleared by the FDA, have a pathway to get paid. They're getting paid by Medicare, but there are hundreds of thousands of companies who are stuck, not cleared by FDA or even not getting paid. So they are kind of stuck. There's so many good things that are sitting there. But we need to adjust. That's the
Siva, I know like 4 or 5 years ago, it was even more challenging, and you guys did a great job getting there. Do you see at the later stage after the COVID and a lot of telemedicine as well as digital therapeutics and all that, do you see there is some at least change in the direction of codifying in the Congress as well as other ones?
Oh yeah, COVID. One of the positive things that happened because of COVID is the acceptance of telemedicine in payment systems, right? So in the past, without COVID, we couldn't have done JOGO virtually. So you cannot treat somebody virtually. We are a virtual treatment company, right? You ship a unit and you treat people through the internet. And that there's no way Medicare would have paid for this in the past. But after COVID, they kind of stabilized. Even some states still mess around with it, but mostly it's kind of the telemedicine has become kind of norm. People understood that this can happen. Definitely after COVID, there is much more acceptance and more use cases, more and more patient data that's getting gathered. Now there is validation that this is real, right? That technology can actually treat something. We are not there yet. Actually, the ones that are really pioneering this, I have to give a lot of kudos to FDA. I meet with them all the time. FDA is at the forefront of this. They understand. They have a separate group for AI. They have a separate group for digital therapeutics. Very easy to have a conversation. The piece that is really missing is the payment side of things, which is actually part of the CMS. They're way behind in these things. But the ones that are really pioneering, are the companies, like the actual companies like Google, Facebook, and others who are actually paying for their employees' healthcare, right? They're the ones who are paying for their healthcare. They can sometimes make a decision, forget about those guys. I'm going to pay for this, right? Because I want this for my employers. We are actually selling directly to innovative employers who want to give this new treatment to their employees, because at the end of the day, they are the ones who are paying for the insurance, right? For the employers.
I think I remember bringing up that one with you because I had a frozen shoulder part. My company actually gave me Hinge Health to work with, and they shipped the whole thing. And I did exercise all remotely, and so it is. You are absolutely right on that front.
Nimal, hopefully answer the question. Yeah, Nimal.
Yeah.
No, if I do, I have one question for you. So your company is that you ship the product, the JOGO, the device, to a consumer, and the consumer's exercise are monitored through a remote AI application, and they are directed whether they are doing it correctly or wrong. Is that the model?
Yeah. So JOGO, we have two components, Nimal. One is the remote physical therapy part, which you may be referring to. And we also have another product which is beyond physical therapy. So this is basically using the neuroplasticity of the brain to provide something called electromyography biofeedback. So that's a separate product where we use sensors. Yes. To answer your question, how the treatment is provided, absolutely yes. We ship the kit.
So for you guys, I have a family member who is going through that. So he has, I have one box at my house, which, uses the JOGO Health every day, the training and reconnecting back with his, for his Parkinson's and, tremors. And I'm a happy customer, actually. He's seen very good improvement on that.
Yeah. So Nimal, they're doing it at home. They may need once in a while some coaching from our staff, which they come online and provide. Most of them are providers. But the other days, once they get used to it, they don't need the support. They do it themselves. And Ruban's family member is one such who learned it, how to use it, then they're using it on a regular basis. Most of our treatments are actually episodic. They just need 8 weeks of treatment, but something like neurodegenerative, like Parkinson's, they have to keep using it because the brain is losing the neurons. That's how it's. Yeah.
Yeah, and to add to that, that's where the AI and all that part, because see, the data, which every day they do 15 minutes, 30 minutes exercise with the different thing, this information is saved, is securely uploaded into the cloud, and the data is there. And as JOGO scales, they are going to have millions of patients like that. When they will have draw of data, and which we can all understand and do improvement. Many different angle we can take it. So that is where I think the partnership between SenzMate and JOGO come into play. Is this drove of data? What do we do with that? Currently what we are doing is going from the front end of it. And this is so much more we could do as we learn more and analyze more, and then do the best, with the LLMs and all the generative AI. That is the basic idea of it. You have so much drove of data. How do you manage that one?
Yeah, I'll give one example, Nimal, I don't know whether you're from the medical field, given the questions that you're asking. One example is multiple sclerosis, right? So we treat multiple sclerosis patients remotely through this JOGO unit, and MS patients require neurorehabilitation on a constant basis. By measuring their muscle data, right, we can actually even predict how fast they're deteriorating and whether they need an intervention, like another drug intervention or something like that. That can be predicted.
Siva, let me ask you a question here. One clarification.
Sure.
That when you say remotely you're helping patients like Siva's family member, the help is done by a completely automated AI agent, or are people behind that help communicating to the patients as what to do and what not to do? I'm not 100% clear of that basically yet. The reason I'm asking from a business point of view is that if you scale up your potential customer numbers, you need more and more back end support. Is that possibly be done by a very sophisticated AI co-pilot itself? Like in many applications today, you can't even figure out whether it's a person or a machine. But can the co-pilot direct or redirect the patient saying, no, that movement is not correct. There has to be a slight change to that movement you are doing to get the most optimal result. How does that work? Can you explain that? I wasn't quite clear of that part.
Okay. So it can be 100% done without a human being, Nimal, which we have the capacity to do. But currently, due to payment regulations, unfortunately, we have to comply with that. You need to have one physical therapist, in our case, at least meet once a week. So it's not a scalability issue. The rest of the days, these patients are using it at home without even meeting with anybody. You don't need to have a human being support it. So to answer your question, the system can be 100% non-human intervention free, can be automatically done by the patients without having anybody getting involved. But due to going back to your first question on regulations and payments, current payment methods prohibits us from doing it. So, for example, Medicare requires that at least one physical therapist meets with this patient once a week, right, remotely. Otherwise, we won't get paid. So there is something that related to payment. They still don't recognize this 100% autopilot to be something meaningful. But that's Medicare, right? But you go to a commercial company like Google, who is subscribing to us, they don't have these kinds of rules. They'll say, okay, you do whatever you want, as long as my employee gets better, they're fine. So in that case, you don't need that human being. So we have both the models depending on who the payer is. Yeah.
I'm missing the point here. The second model, fully automated model.
Yeah.
To me, that sounds like an exceptionally attractive model in the sense that if that catches on, so to speak, with the customers, I mean, that can be mind-blowing. I mean, it's not a question of eliminating people. Don't look at it that way. It's not. We are not trying to eliminate doctors or physical therapists or anything like that. I mean, as you said, end of the day, what matters is that our patients getting better. That's all that matters. End of the day.
So Nimal, where I have seen some of them is the fraud. That is the main driver on that at this point, because people tend to think there were early intervention places people have done, and they, without this check and balance and human check off on that, there had been, the Medicaid has a lot of fraud. Even before the digital therapeutics, people do this kind of thing. They give a prescription and do all that. So that's, I think it is like a legacy problem. But what you are saying is absolutely right. I think as people start learning, this can be done more, more crisply and precisely. And I think people will start tuning to that, saying, let's not waste, time.
No, let me ask you this. If that is the case, I understand the potential for fraud. Yes, I understand that. But if that's the case, from Siva, your perspective, and Ruban, your perspective, what might have to happen in the market? Is it a legislative issue, or is it a matter of people getting used to? What has to happen to make it more acceptable for doctors in the hospital to say, you can download this app and you can do it yourself without anyone involved, anytime, any number of time. You pay a subscription fee for a JOGO or any other companies like that. You don't have to worry about how many times you are doing it. And because when you're fully automated, that gives patient who wants to get better a complete control of the treatment. You don't have to worry about, I have to go to a physical therapy right now at 3:00, but I have something I have to do before that. And I'm thinking to myself, can I cancel it? If I cancel it, I have to pay $50 for it. So I have to go there. So if I have a system like that where I have complete control of the time space, I would be far more comfortable. That's my question. So what has to happen in the marketplace for people to come and say, something, I do this with a machine, with a co-pilot agent, without anyone getting involved? When is that going to happen?
So it is.
One thing. let's answer this question. And I think Nimal, I think we can connect offline for more detail also, because I just want to make sure that this webinar is already going above 1 hour, so we need to be understanding of a wider audience. But the questions are great, so let's Siva, please answer it, and after that we'll follow up. I think Nimal, I think you have a lot of good point there. I think we should talk offline more.
Sure. The short answer is regulation, Nimal. Short answer is regulation, and the regulations are already there. So the regulations are called software as a medical device regulations, called digital therapeutics regulation. So FDA has no problem with that, right? So even in our case, many of our things are automated. It's just the payment side of things where the problems are. So there are apps that you could now use for ADHD, for example, which is 100% fully automated. There's a company, my buddy of mine started, Akili Interactive, which is a game we basically play, and it's ADHD. You don't meet with any human beings, right, for that. And same for physical therapy. We have the app already. But the regulatory phase, fine. It's the payment side of things where the problem. If a patient is ready to pay out of pocket, we don't have any problem with that. It's just the Medicare and others still are not catching up with this. That's the only thing.
Okay, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much, all of you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Nimal, for great questions. And okay, we'll close it out.
Yeah. So before the closing remark, anyone else than Nimal have any question? If you want to briefly discuss with Mr. Siva or Mr. Ruban,
we'll take it maybe offline when they want to. There's almost
definitely, yes. So thank you, Ruban and Siva. It was amazing conversation, and we were filled with super information. And thank you, Nimal, for your detailed conversation. We'd love to have a detailed discussion offline. Everyone, thank you for your time. We'll be sharing an email with you with the complete recording, and the new technology researchers where SenzMate AI IoT and JOGO Health are working on. We will share more information and white papers going forward. For all the participants, we will be allocating a 1 hour free brainstorming and consultation session with our experts and our tech team. If you are interested to explore any technology in your digital healthcare expansion going forward, please stay tuned to our email updates and social media and our newsletters on our AIoT advancements in healthcare. Thank you all. Have a great day. See you all soon. Bye.
Thank you.